Wanna gather quite a few. Wanna gather quite a few.
I'd like to be pretty good. To get Pokemon is what I'd like to do. I'd also like to train them. I will go from place to place, looking around for them. Educate those Pokemon about how strong they are. Pokemon, wanna get them all. It's you and I know it's what I gotta do. Pokemon, I like you quite a bit, and we like to guard this place. Wanna get them all. I'm kinda brave, favor for a favor. Oh, Pokemon,
Wanna gather quite a few.
yeah. Most are things I guess I'll face, but some I'd rather not. Quite a few I'll avoid, but I'll give the easier ones a shot.
Hey there, so
If you want,
I have changed my audio setup and I needed to test it, and I also need to check my voice and just see how it's doing, because it's hard to tell if I'm not talking a lot, and a recording is a great way to test that. So I thought I'd kill two bugs with one stone. I guess I'm a bird type, but yeah, there's something I've been wanted to do for a long time, which is be very judgmental about the current 1025 Pokemon and get rid of as many as I can until there's only about, let's say, 200 left. I think 200 is a good number. It'll force me to get rid of some of the ones I might like from my earlier generation, but no bias. But it still allows for some of the better new ones to shine through, so this doesn't just turn into a Gen 1 only thing. And yeah, so I'm going to go through and I'm going to just get rid of the Pokemon, cross them out that I don't like, and I will explain my rationale behind each of them. But first I'm going to turn off the music, because that was just a test to see if that actually worked. That was a test to see if my computer recording is doing thing, because I'm not going to have background music for this. I'm not sure yet. We'll see what happens. So yeah, first of all, I love the starters for the first gen, except for Charmeleon. So Charmeleon's on thin ice, but all the others are going to stay. And I actually did a test run of this. It was the first and second generation, I think, in my test run. And I decided I think I would like to circle. I think I'd like a more vivid red. Come on, these are basically perfect. And these two. I really like middle evolutions. Pokemon tends to drop the ball all the time, but Wartortle, one of the best. Charmeleon is like, I mean, he's halfway between. I think what they do is they create Charmander and they create Charizard, and then they try to create something that's halfway between each. And they do, but like, why is he red? Is he red in the original? Yeah, he is. I was just looking up. I have the 2001 poster on my wall, so I was just checking that. And yeah, he is a different color from the other two, which is kind of weird. But he's just in this very awkward stage, which I think they might be going for, but I don't know if I like it. But he can stay for now, because, you know, I'm sure we'll get rid of plenty of other Pokemon. But if it's getting down to like 250 and he's still in, then he might have to go. Okay, so Caterpie, Metapod, Butterfree. I really like all these bug Pokemon. They're very fun. It might be a little unnecessary for, yeah, you know, I think I might just confuse myself with the circling. Yeah, I think it might be unnecessary to have a Weedle, Metapod, Kakuna. Like, Caterpie and Metapod are basically identical to Weedle and Kakuna, but it is neat to see the parallels evolution, so I'm a little torn there, so we'll come back to that. Pidgey, Pidgeotto, and Pidgeot, I'm conflicted about. They all look very similar, but there is a change between them. And if you look at, in the anime, for instance, Pidgeot is like twice the size of Pidgeotto, so there is a significant change there. And it is neat to get a starter Pokemon, like a very early, weak Pokemon that you can just evolve all the way up. So I'll keep them for now, but like Charmeleon, they're on thin ice. Maybe I have like a thin ice, we put a little like purple marker of doom above those that we're unsure about. And in the Pidgeot, Pidgeotto, Pidgey I don't know what I would do. I guess get rid of Pidgeotto. I kind of hate Pidgeot's name though, actually. And this design is worse as well. You know, I think Pidgeot will be the one on thin ice. Okay, so then Spearow and Pharaoh. I quite like Pharaoh in design, and it's fun that he's like almost a vulture, but he's a scary sparrow, I guess is the idea. That's kind of fun. Rattata is a great Pokemon. Would want to keep forever. Raticate, great way to evolve them, so happy with that. Ekans and Arbok, very cool. Not enough snake Pokemon, at least in my memory. We'll see what happens after we get through 1025. Then we've got Pikachu and Raichu. Raichu's okay. Kind of, not quite thin ice. He's fine. Okay, so the first a major decision. I like Sandshrew and Sandshrew and Sandslash. They're great. So first of all, Nidorann's going to go. Nidorina's going to go. And you say, what? Why don't you like this Pokemon? Well, I do like them, but we do not need to do the whole male-female thing because I think Pokemon, the standard has changed, and this would just be a single Pokemon, and it is a Nidoran that evolves into a Nidorino, and then based on male or female, you get a Nidoking or Nidoqueen. And I think that's probably where Pokemon's at these days. I can just do a little... There we go. Okay, Pokemon has been fixed. Just took a little bit of graphic design, but no, I am not a photo editor by any means. You can tell because I'm using Paint. I'm using Paint.net, so it's fancy Paint, but it's still Paint. Clefairy and Clefable, right? So Clefable is like Clefairy, but ugly. Yeah, it's almost the same thing. It's just like a worse designed Clefairy, so it can go. There's a few Pokemon like that. There's Wigglytuff, and then there's Blissey, which we'll get to eventually. So yeah, Vulpix and Ninetales, I love both of these Pokemon. Jigglypuff and Clefairy, they're almost the same as well, but they could almost be combined or something, but we'll keep them for now. You could almost put like Jigglypuff into Clefairy into Wigglytuff as an evolutionary line, or even Jigglypuff, Clefairy, Chansey. Which, come to think of it, actually, that's a great idea. I will grab myself a Chansey a bit later, and it can come back right into that spot there. Awesome. Where are we? We are at Zubat and Golbat. Golbat, he is another Thin Ice Pokemon, which is not... Well, maybe it's a kind of Pokemon, because there's 1,025 of them. But yeah, I think it's not too many exactly, like if they were all interesting, but I think a lot of the designs are just lazy two-legged creatures that are basically humans with some, I don't know, plants stuck in their hair or something. Which I think Pokemon are an animal combined with an element at their core. And then there's some weird like plushies, which are like Jigglypuff and Clefairy and Venonat, things like that. But if it's just a dude on two legs like Meowth or Golduck, I'm not a fan. But yeah, we'll get to those when we get to those. So Oddish, Gloom, and Vileplume, I love all of them. Paris and Parasect, quite macabre for Pokemon, which I quite like. There's a lot of darker Pokemon actually, but I do like these two. Kind of the first in our list. If you don't count the Corpse Flower right there, the Rafflesia. So Venonat and Venomoth, I talked about in my test recording, but I think there's a better moth Pokemon, but Venomoth is still a decent moth Pokemon, so only if it comes down to it, will I have to choose between the two moth Pokemon. For now, Venomoth, it's kind of pretty. It doesn't get much use in my gameplay at all. You don't see that many Venonats around. Venonat's kind of fun. Like he doesn't look like a gnat, he looks like a little fluff ball, but he looks like a fluff ball, not a man, so I like that. Diglett and Dugtrio I quite like. I don't know what they are, I guess they're moles probably. But very fast, that's the one thing I don't understand about them. They're some of the fastest Pokemon out there, which I don't know why. But they have this sort of otherworldly look to them. They're not just an obvious transplant from Earth, which is neat. Like Psyduck's like that too. And the Poly gang, I guess, are like that too, where they're very much Pokemon and nothing else, which I think makes them special. So yeah, Meowth is a Thin Ice Pokemon. The only reason I'm not just getting rid of Meowth right away is because, first of all, his money mechanic is pretty cool. So he's kind of a unique sort of Pokemon. And secondly, he's so iconic, the walking around on two legs. He's almost a human, and that's kind of his thing. So if there is one I am a human Pokemon, it should be Meowth, or maybe like a Mr. Mime or a Chansey. Meowth has sort of earned his place. Persian, kind of a neat Pokemon. It's mostly just a cat, and it doesn't seem to have any relation to Meowth. The evolution doesn't make that much sense. So Persian, I think, is another Thin Ice Pokemon, actually. Psyduck, I love Psyduck. I love his little model. I think I used to have a little miniature Psyduck toy. I'm not sure what happened to it, or if it got destroyed or lost, or I gave it away or something, but I really like Psyduck. I'm just looking right now. I do have a miniature Charizard toy, but... Charmander toy, but yeah, not a Psyduck. Golduck, it is neat to have your Psyduck evolve into something that's so much more powerful, and Golduck is kind of interesting, but I don't know. He doesn't have Psyduck's charm, and he's kind of like a Kappa. And I think there's already, like, several better Kappa Pokemon. Like, not just one, but there's several better Kappa Pokemon. And Mankey and Primeape, they're ball monkeys, which, they're not just straight-up monkeys. They're not just straight-up people. I don't know what the little bracelets are about. There's also Annihilape, which we'll get to, which might make me like them more or less. I can't decide. I don't really like how Annihilape looks, but I like the idea of Annihilape to bring Primeape up to a more competitive level. Because... He's too weak to really keep with you as he is. This isn't meant to be like I'm no Pokemon competitive guy, and I don't play enough Pokemon to really know the ins and outs. But this is more about design than anything. But if they do have a really cool mechanic that I know about, that will factor in. Growlithe and Arcanine, I like the Fire Dog. There's a lot of dog Pokemon. I think some are better than these two, and the fact that there's two of them might be a bit overkill, but until we see them, I think for now these can stay. So Poliwag, Poliwhirl, Poliwrath. Poliwhirl and Poliwrath are the same model. Like, look at them. The only difference is that Poliwrath has angry eyes. You can kind of see the progression of, like, okay, let's take Poliwag and then we'll make him hardcore, and then he'll actually get angry. And that's kind of neat, but they needed to do more with Poliwrath to make him stand out. You know, for a frog, he doesn't look like a frog. I think a frog Pokemon would be so cool. I love the idea of a frog Pokemon, but I don't think there has ever been a good frog Pokemon. They're just things on their back legs. So in my previous test, I said, okay, get rid of Poliwhirl and just have Poliwag become Poliwrath. But looking at Poliwrath now, you know, like, he's not a frog. He's just a I don't know, a juice box mascot or something. It's kind of weird, but I'll keep him for now. He's something nice though. Abracadabra, Alakazam. They're named. Well, they're based on a real life person, I believe. I forget his name at the moment, but I do like the Abracadabra Alakazam. They're very cool Pokemon. They do look like a man, but they're always floating, so you don't see it as much. That's the same thing with Machop, Machamp. They're just dudes, but they're no guard ability, which allows them to always hit, and always be hit is pretty cool. Machop, probably my least favorite of them, and the Machoke to Machamp doesn't really make sense. It looks like Machop would become a Machamp, and Machoke is almost a standalone, it seems like. For now, they can stay if there's a better, cool fighting Pokemon, but they're so iconic that it's hard to get rid of them, and they have so many moves that are uniquely suited to them, and so many special abilities that are uniquely suited to them. But, I mean, they wear clothes. Like, is there any other Pokemon that wears clothes? That's kind of weird. And it's supposed to be a power belt to limit them, but I don't know if you can encounter them in the wild or not, actually. Like Machamp, obviously you can't, but the others, I don't know. Bellsprout, Weepinbell, Victreebel, I love them. They're all great. They're straight up pitcher plants, which is really cool. You know, there was a Rafflesia earlier, and I've got a pitcher plant. Like, they're all very... It's a wide variety of plants. It's not just generic houseplant. Like, they're all very obviously based on something. Tentacool and Tentacruel. Tentacruel is obviously cooler than Tentacool, but it's neat to have the progression, so I like all of them. Geodude, Graveler, Golem. I like them quite a bit. Golem is standing like a man, but he looks more like a turtle, kind of rearing on its legs. He looks like his own thing, which is neat. Or a Golem, but there is actually Pokemon that are much closer to actual Golems, which is interesting, but they come in later generations. So for now they stay, but maybe Graveler has to go. But yeah, again, very iconic. Ponyta, Rapidash. You've got a little pony into a unicorn, so there's that progression there, but they are very similar in a lot of ways, but keep them for now. Then we come to Slowpoke and Slowbro. I really like the idea that Slowbro is just a Slowpoke with a Shelder on his tail, which is quite fun. It looks like Shelder's design is totally different there. Like, I don't know what happened. And the way new Pokemon games make things evolve, I imagine if Slowpoke had been made today, he could have actually been his own, like, he's a fishing rod Pokemon or something, is what he would have been. And he would have, like, I think he's meant to be like a salamander or something, because he regenerates. Like, his tail is cut off and served as a delicacy, so I think he has, like, high levels of regeneration. Although he looks more like like a pig dog thing, or armadillo almost even, I don't know. But I think he's meant to be like a salamander-y thing. But then you have Slowking, which is a Slowpoke with the shelter on his head, and I think they're very funny. I don't know if Slowking is too far gone for me, but for now they can all stay. Magnemite and Magneton, exactly what I want from a Pokemon. They're just an interesting thing. They're magnets. They're little metallic magnet ball things. They look kind of constructed, which brings Sandy Shocks into question later on, because it would explain why Pokemon's technology is so far ahead if they could actually base it on nature, and nature had this crazy variety. Farfetch'd, I don't know, he's just interesting. Like, why does he have a leak? What's that about? This little Farfetch'd. He's there's a lot of Pokemon that are just plain birds, so, in a fight, Farfetch'd wins against the plain birds, but I might have to get rid of all the plain birds in the end. But for now, they can stay. I've got like a 2-headed ostrich and a 3-headed ostrich with Duo and Dodrio, so they're good. Oh, whoops. This one's going to be a little controversial, I think. Because I like Seal, I like Dewgong, they're beautiful, they're very pretty looking Pokemon. Having a little model of them would be quite fun. But I think there's just better Pokemon. Like, these are very pretty looking seals, right? But Pokemon is not about real world animals. Like, there are real world animals in the anime, but can you imagine, I don't know, like, you see the Mongols on their Rapidashes hunting, like, deer or something. That'd be kind of cool in some ways. Doesn't really fit into the Pokemon aesthetic that much. Sort of utopian paradise, but it'd be kind of cool. Grimer and Muck, I really like both of them, but again, they're basically the same thing. like between both of them. I have troubles deciding which one I like more. Like in these two models, I think Grimer looks better, but in the original artwork, I think Muck looks better because you're not really getting a change; you're just getting a different pose with them. So I think Grimer can go. And now keep in mind one thing here is the reason Pokemon evolve in a gameplay aspect is often because you have a Pokemon with low stats and then a Pokemon with much higher stats as it evolves. Like there's quite a strong stat jump between evolutions. But you don't want to give someone the super strong high stat Pokemon to begin with. So that's why you get a Grimer and not a Muck. So the Muck doesn't look that different, but feels very different. I'm only giving myself room for 200, so I think some sacrifices are going to have to be made, even of Pokemon that I kind of like Grimer. So Shellder, he's very goofy, and if I want to keep Slowbro, I kind of need the Shellder. Although I almost would like some sort of, either for the Slowbros to have this Shellder on their tail, or for this Shellder to be the main one. Because the one on the Slowbro's tail does fit the Cloyster much more. This looks silly. Maybe they couldn't make it work, or they thought they hated how it looked. And so this is the Shellder we have. But if this is the Shellder we have, I don't know, clearly it seems to me that Slowbro should... and Slowbro should have this thing on his tail instead, right? We don't have time to be doing graphic design on every Pokemon, so we're just going to roll with it. And we just gotta touch it up a little. And amazing. Okay, Slowbro has been perfected. There we go. And all these models, by the way, I don't quite really like the look of them, but they're from Pokemon DB. I don't know. No offense to the person who did the renders, but it's the style more than the art direction that bothers me. It's just kind of weird, and it looks like they're made of Play-Doh almost, which I find kind of weird. So moving swiftly along, we come to Ghastly, Haunter, and Gengar. Now these fellows, I don't know. I really like Ghastly. But Gengar and Haunter, Haunter's kind of cool looking, but he's just another Ghastly, really. He's a Ghastly with fingers, which I guess is a Pokemon evolution. But then Gengar comes in, and he is meant to be like a shadow that stalks you, which is cool, but he is just another guy, and it's kind of... I'm very torn about these two. They can stay in for now, but they feel like an unnecessary addition to Ghastly. Although I do like them, and Gengar is in the opening cinematic, so how can you get rid of him, really? But that said, I'm not sure if there's much better Pokemon than them or not. If they're the only option, then that is what we are going to work with, right? The poison as well. They're meant to be like poisonous gas, but then he's a shadow, which is kind of, like, he should be a Ghost Dark Pokemon that's separate. He should be like almost a different evolutionary line altogether. Haunter as well, really, actually. Okay, we can do that right now, no problem. Because they're both sort of purpley, but yeah, he's black. Like he's almost like a dead Cloyster, rather. And he's like a poisonous gas. But these guys are something else entirely. These are clearly dark Pokemon. My intention is not to edit Pokemon. That was not what my intention coming into this. It's just what I've ended up doing. Okay, we have Onyx. Great. I like him. Big snake, rock ground snake. Drowsy is like a tapir, but he's on his hind legs, which not a huge fan of. And we already have Psyduck, which is sort of already the goofy hind legs yellow Pokemon. So actually, yeah, last time I was testing this, I didn't get rid of Drowsy, but this time I think I'm going to get rid of him. I like the idea of a psychic tapir, but and sort of like maybe an Indian god. I'm not sure what he's meant to be entirely, but not that. And then Hypno. I like Hypno for how creepy he is, but and like he does have a lot of potential, but he's almost like more of a creepypasta than a Pokemon. So I think Hypno has to go, sadly. There's a better creepy psychic Pokemon, I think. Or there's like that balloon Pokemon, which we'll come to, which is good. Krabby and Kingler, I love both of them. Kingler's got the much bigger claw. And they're crabs, but they shoot water and bubbles and stuff. And they're exact. Well, there are crabs that look this crazy, but yeah, they're great. Voltorb and Electrode, I don't know. I imagine, I have seen people who do not like these Pokemon. They say they're lazy design, and they say that... stupid to have just the it's just a Pokeball but on the other hand, I really like it. Like you think, oh, I got a Pokeball, but no, it's an angry Voltorb. And then Electrode, you fight a Voltorb and you're like, okay, he's gonna hit me with a Thunder Shock and it's scary. But then Electrode, you're like, please don't self-destruct, please don't use Explosion, please, because he's massive and he's terrifying. So I like him as a giant bomb Pokemon. So yeah, they're staying. Execute, I like. It's just a bunch of angry eggs, although they're actually seeds, I guess. So I'm not sure why they're called eggs, but because they look like eggs, obviously. But then we get Exeggutor. Now, Exeggutor is just a dude that walks around, but he has a palm tree, and palm trees are long, tall things. And I'd prefer if he didn't have feet, I think. But and this isn't. I'm not allowed to just edit the Pokemon and say, okay, now they can stay, because then I could edit all the Pokemon to a point where I like them, and that would kind of defeat the point. Like I could make Drowsy walk around on his hind legs, or sorry, on all four legs like a tapir. Yeah, if Exeggutor was more like Bellsprout, I'd be happier to keep him. But I do love Alolan Exeggutor as well, so I think I will keep Exeggutor for now. Cubone and Marowak, I love the idea of, they're kind of like, there's all these theories that they're a dead Kangaskhan's children or something, and it's very fun to theorize about. And that they could be marsupials, which explain why they're on their hind legs with the tail. The entire species having their mother die and where the skull is. They should almost be a unique Pokemon, because it is a little weird. Like maybe this is what the adult looks like normally. Maybe they have like an exoskeleton type thing, but there should only be one Cubone. Hitmonlee and Hitmonchan, these are just people, right? So Hitmonchan has got to go for sure. Hitmonlee, he's almost a bit more demonic, so he's more of he's in the Thin Ice gang right now. But yeah, Hitmonchan is just a guy. Lickitung, I really like. I don't know what it is, but he's like a giant fruit roll-up or whatever those things were called, which is quite funny. And he's very cute, and like lick was sort of his signature move, and I think that makes it very fun. Coughing and wheezing, they're kind of like a bacteria or a smoke particle and a virus-looking thing, and that's just cool. Rhyhorn is a great Pokemon. Rhydon is an unnecessary addition. You just take this really cool-looking rock rhino, and turn it into a plush toy or something. I don't know what Rhydon's meant to be. Kaiju BattleBot thing. Chansey. I think that kind of makes an interesting evolutionary line. Maybe it's a terrible idea, but you see the similarities there, and this allows me to get rid of Blissey and make Chansey have Blissey's stats, because I do love how Blissey has like the strongest, highest HP in the game. I think that's very fun, and Chansey also having the highest HP is very fun. And I like the idea of Chansey evolving into a Pokemon with much higher HP, but all these Pokemon have surprisingly high HP. Well, maybe not Jigglypuff, but Clefairy definitely does. Blissey is just like it's very similar to Clefable, it's just a worse designed Chansey, whereas Clefable's like a worse designed Clefairy. So yeah, I'll keep these three Pokemon. They don't necessarily have to evolve into each other, but that's where I'm at right now. Okay, Tangela is just a Venonat, so Tangela can go. And he's wearing shoes. He's a Venonat with shoes. Yeah, we don't need two of them, so he can go. Kangaskhan, like Genghis-Khan Marsupial, that's very fun. Horsey and Seadra. I don't know, like they're one of them's on Thin Ice because they're very similar designs, and it's just Angry Eyes again, which I find pretty boring just to go to Angry Eyes. I prefer Horsey, like he's cuter, but it is neat to have the tougher Pokemon. And I guess his little wing things do turn into spikes, but like you could make the Sigarmy with Crappy and Kinglet really, but this is my list, I can be biased. So yeah, one of them's on Thin Ice, maybe both, but they can stay for now. Goldeen and Seaking, I've never been sure if they evolve into each other. I'm still not sure right now, actually. Okay, yeah, Goldeen evolves into Seaking. That doesn't make any sense. Goldeen's clearly a golden queen, and Seaking is a king of the sea. And Goldeen looks cooler than Seaking, so I don't know. I kind of want to like get rid of Seaking. I don't have any cause to right now. He's just, they should either be separate or, yeah. But he can stay for now, but yeah, he's on Thin Ice again. Staryu and Starmie, both interesting starfish gem things. I really like their design. Okay, Mr. Mime and Jinx, Electabuzz, and Magmar. I'm a sucker for like triples with a similar theme, right? Like the ice, electric, and fire pair, or trio, I guess. And Mr. Mime kind of makes a quadrio. And I really love these things. But I was recently thinking about it after I did my test run, and I was thinking, there is another ice, electric, fire trio that aren't just creatures on their back legs, which is the 3 legendary birds, and then Ho-Oh maybe for Mr. Mime or something like that. And so I was thinking, actually, these things don't need to stay, and so they can all go, and that'll buy. Like I'm a little hesitant to get rid of them all, especially Jinx and Magmar. I like quite a bit, and Mr. Mime is iconic, but like Magmar's kind of just another Charmander, and with a butt for a head. Mr. Mime, I like his mime and his light protection shield and stuff, but I don't know. He's weird. He was really interested in the Pokemon movie in some ways, I guess. But yeah, no, he's more of a joke than a Pokemon. Like if you saw that in the wild, that'd be terrifying. It's like what? It'd be interesting if he was actually like a plant or something, right? And this was like like a sprout coming off of him to look like a human to try to integrate with humans. That'd be kind of interesting. But he's a psychic fairy. He is just a little gnome creature, which it's a bit weird. Doesn't mean Pokemon can't have gnome-like creatures, but I'm just imagining you see that rooting through your trash or something. It's horrifying. Okay, moving along to Scyther and Pinsir. I like both of these. Pokemon was based around bug fighting originally, based around beetle fighting. And so Heracross as well really fits in. And so I think these guys are great for that. And Praying Mantis. And now the only complaint I have about Pinsir is he doesn't go around on his front like a beetle. But I think he is an interesting enough design that he doesn't just look like a human mascot creature. You could make an argument for it, but in that fight in the early anime against where he fought Ash's Metapod, it didn't look like a dude. It looked like a monster trying to crush his Pokemon, right? So I think he can stay for now. And he's got the 2 mouths, which is weird and interesting. Tauros is fun, the 3-tailed bull. It's a very simple design, but I like it quite a bit. The Safari Zone reminds me a lot of like farms and wildlife that I grew up around, so I quite like him. Okay, Magikarp and Gyarados I really like. I think that's really cool. And then you have Lapras, which is like an Elasmosaurus, which is neat. Ditto is amazing, can turn to any Pokemon. It's something that can turn into anything is actually a very basic design, but it's also very fun, as long as you only do it once, right? And so I think it's nice to have. If there was 2 Dittos, that would be a different story, but there's the 1 Ditto, so I think that's really cool. If there's a Ditto 2 or something like that. Now, if there's a Ditto Mega Evolution, which had a power like transforms for free, that would be kind of cool. The problem with Ditto is he copies whatever he's facing, but it takes him a turn to use Transform, which means even if he was identical to his opponent, he's always 1 turn behind, which means he's basically always going to lose. And you can say that's because a reflection is always inferior to the original, I guess, but it'd be neat if he can mix and match or something, turn it into like a Smeargle hybrid maybe, or because as it is, he's not really for fighting, he's just for breeding. The Eevee and all the evolutions they have got to stay. They are kind of pinnacle Pokemon. Like there with Pikachu and Jigglypuff, they are the centers of Pokemon. So yeah, they are all locked in. And in fact, some of these guys are just locked in, right? Like Pikachu is locked in. Same is said of Eevee and the evolutions. They are all locked in. And actually, same with the legendary birds. I love these guys so much. The Pokemon 2000 movie was great. Right, moving along. Porygon. Porygon is great. It's really cool to have a single digital Pokemon in the game, and I think it's a really neat idea. You know, you just have the first artificial Pokemon, and then you leave it there, and that's sort of where the story goes. And I think that's really cool. And there was no more ever made, I'm sure. I'm sure we won't run into any others. Okay, Almanite and Almastar. Kind of unnecessary. They're very similar. They're both just Nautiluses. For now, I guess I can keep Almanite on thin ice. But yeah, Cubito and Cubitops very different, almost too different, really. They can stay because they're both very neat. Like he's a horseshoe crab and he's a scary horseshoe crab. Now he does have a bit of overlap with Scyther, and he is something on its hind legs again. But I don't know. I'm a sucker for They should almost be a like tri-type bug, rock, water or something. Given that, well, I guess Krabby isn't a bug type either. I guess all arthropods aren't necessarily bug Pokemon. But Cubitops, I don't know, give him another pair of legs or something, or like he also has a sheath. It looks like, or maybe that's his tail. Make him like crawl on his front, maybe. Maybe I just have to accept an aspect of Pokemon is that a lot of them stand on their hind legs, but that doesn't mean I have to accept all Pokemon that stand on their hind legs that are like socks or whatever it is called, where it just doesn't even look like anything. Like at least this is obviously a horseshoe crab, right? Whereas some of the later Pokemon are, it's like, what are you going for? You just have a dude in a G. Okay, Aerodactyl, great, I love it. It's a Pterodactyl. Snorlax, very fun Pokemon. Okay, so this might be my most controversial one. So there's a theory that Magikarp was supposed to turn into Dragonite, but it didn't look cool enough, so they swapped Gyarados and Dragonite because Dratini, Dragonair, and Gyarados makes a lot more sense, and then Magikarp, Dragonite, like visually makes a lot more sense. They're both orange, they're both blue. You've got these snake Pokemon. Magikarp's meant to go through this radical transformation and turn into a legendary dragon, and Dragonite feels a bit more, I don't know, Korean legendary-ish, whereas Gyarados is a bit more Chinese, Japanese. You know, given that I'm only allowing myself 200 Pokemon, you never see a Dratini, you never really see a Dragonair, and that given that I really like the Magikarp Gyarados connection, like these two have become so iconic that like they're a lock-in as well. Like the whole sudden jump from the $500 Magikarp to the super powerful Gyarados and the red Gyarados and everything, like they have their own unique kind of shiny. It's not just a filter; it's a unique shiny. You can't just throw that away. So Gyarados is awesome. Now there was a whole episode dedicated to Dragonite, the giant Dragonite, and it's meant to be... Dragonite is one of the most powerful Pokemon in the game. It has some of the highest stat totals in the game. It's I think fans call them pseudo-legendaries, where they have legendary stats, but they're not a legendary Pokemon. And that's very cool in and of itself, and it's one of Lance's best Pokemon. But it looks like a plushie from like a anime, like a kid's... Well, okay, Pokemon is a kid's cartoon anime, but I mean, it's not a battle Pokemon. This is the little fairy that flutters around annoyingly in an anime. Or in a video game as your helper bot thing, or in like Arctic's games type thing, like a Dragon Adventure Quest type thing. So to keep within my 200 limit, here's my controversial decision, which is to get rid of Dratini and Dragonite and keep the prettiest of the three, and the most unique. And that way, yeah, I feel kind of weird about getting rid of Dragonite, but if I keep him in, then he kind of needs something to evolve into him. And yeah, I'm not seeing it right now. So yeah, he's going to go. Maybe he'll come back later, but I don't know. Okay, so Mewtwo and Mew, in some ways they're a lock-in because, you know, the mother of all Pokemon and her clone. But on the other hand, I don't know. They're kind of, like, that's a mouse, I guess, and then he's meant to be an embryo. But, and he's meant to be artificial. They're weird. They're very cool. So they'll stay. They'll stay for now. And, you know, the most powerful Pokemon ever, you kind of have to keep, I guess. But... whatever those were called, Mega Evolutions, the thing where it comes out of his head, those are gone. Those are out. If they're on this list, I'm crossing them out. I don't know how Mega Evolutions will not count into the 1025, but I'm removing it here in text, if not visually. Sorry, here by word, if not visually. So yeah, Gen 2 starters. I don't really like the Gen 2 starters, but I do like Chikorita, Bayleaf, Magnum, actually. They're just dinosaurs with leaves. That's great. I like it. All of them, even the middle one is neat. Then over here we have like an echidna or almost an anteater thingy. I don't really like any of them. This isn't even they did something bad. It's just they're all like weird rats with just a ruff of flame. They don't really seem to combine their elements. It's like you just glued one thing onto another. Totodile, Croconaw, and Feraligatr. You know, they're kind of neat. But on the other hand, wouldn't an alligator, like an actual alligator, be so much cooler? You know, I'm just thinking about that right now, and I want an alligator Pokemon now. So like that's like on all four legs, it's this long, scary Pokemon. There is a sound one, I think, later on, but I want one so much that I think I'm going to get rid of them. Totodile is very cute, but you know he could have been a cute little alligator. Instead, he's like I don't know what he is. He's gone. I'm sorry, Totodile, but there's only so many spaces. Okay, Centurret, I really like. It's like a little turret uses its tail. But then Furret it's like Centurret, but worse. It gets rid of the turret, so it's like, what's the point? Furret should evolve into Centurret, if anything. But yeah, it just doesn't seem like there's any point. Hoot Hoot, very cool design. I feel like they should have gone somewhere with it. Like it's kind of like a clock or something, and I think Noctowl should have a much more clocky face. It just looks like a great horned owl. And neither of them are psychic. I thought they were psychic Pokemon, but... I think Hoot Hoot needs to evolve, but I don't like what it evolves into, so I'm not sure what to do about that. You can tell he's an evolution because he's angry now, which means he's cool and hardcore. Perfect. See? Wouldn't that be such a better Noctowl? Yeah, if you're watching Game Freak, you know, I can do commissions. Now we've got Ladybug. Ladybug, great design. Ledian, that's just an anime robot. That's like something out of, I don't know, I don't actually watch that much anime. I have a feel for the aesthetic. Well, actually, I have watched a lot of anime, to be fair. I don't like most anime. I've watched a lot to see if I could find any I did like, but I didn't really find any that I liked. Yeah, no, Lady N is just a human wearing a bug suit for some reason. Okay, Spinnerad and Gyarados, spider Pokemon. I like it, although not enough legs. But beyond that, great. They're not actually spiders, I guess. But no, I believe these are actually based upon real Japanese creatures, because the second generation is based heavily on Japan. So maybe there is a three-legged Japanese spider creature. Crobat. I like Crobat. Crobat's cool. It felt kind of weird when it came out, but it was this sort of, whoa, there's an evolution to Golbat, which it is basically a balance patch, but it does feel... It's a risky thing to do, I think, to add a new evolution to it, but it can give a new life to an old Pokemon that wasn't doing so well. So I do think that this was necessary to make you think, oh, Zubat actually has something. Like, okay, maybe Zubat isn't so bad. And I think it's cool when they do that, when there's a Pokemon that gets left by the wayside and they go, okay, what if this Pokemon we gave another step? That's pretty cool. Chinchu, I think the design's kind of neat, but then Lantern, it's way too friendly for a lanternfish type thing, and way too pretty. But, it's meant to be an electric fish. It doesn't have to necessarily be a lanternfish, but that's clearly what they're going for. Anglerfish, that's the word, not a lanternfish. Yeah, like an anglerfish, but it's not horrifying enough. Like it needs like a great big distended jaw with like horrible teeth and like little other fish fused to its side, making it all lumpy and disgusting. It wasn't ambitious enough. And I think I like the dead eyes of Chinchu as well, which it kind of gave up on. They're saying something, right? Like, look at that. That looks so much better. I think, anyways. This is not me, fixing Pokemon. This is more just my personal taste. Lanturna is a very pleasant model in a vacuum. I think the artist did a great job. It's just, it's not what I'm looking for in Pokemon. So this isn't me making a better model. This is me making a better Pokemon to my aesthetics in a game I would play. But yeah, if this is what Lantern looks like, now we're talking. Okay, I've convinced myself it can stay in now, but this isn't actually what it looks like, so it's on thin ice, and really I should be getting rid of it. Okay, the baby Pokemon. I kind of like the idea of sticking something on the bottom to, I don't know why they exist exactly. I guess it's just fun. It gives you a little bit something to work towards, like, you got a Pikachu, but this way you can work towards a Pikachu, and you can work towards a Jigglypuff, you can work towards a Clefairy. It kind of ruins my whole evolutionary chain thing I was doing. And Clefa, again, looks very similar to the whole Clefable line, but at least this time it actually, looks different enough, and it kind of fits. You can see Clefa becoming a Clefairy. Igglybuff, I don't know about Igglybuff. Igglybuff's something nice. Togepi is kind of the opposite, where I kind of like the design. I don't know about the weird, terrified looking eyes thing. I don't know if it's actually made of yolk or something. It's kind of gross. But then it turns into Togetic, and then in a later generation, they added an even later evolution, Togekiss, which Togekiss is very powerful, but like I feel like Togepi needs to evolve, but Togetic is, I don't know. I'm not feeling inspired. Togekiss is too far of a jump for Togepi. Like, it needs a middle ground. So I'm kind of shooting myself in the foot here, but I'm going to do it. I'm going to do it because Togetic, I don't know. It's kind of weird looking. Okay, Natu Zatu. I think last time I was thinking these are some sort of Andean design, but now I'm wondering, because second generation was so Japanese focused, if there's a Japanese aesthetic that looks like this. I really like Natu a lot. Zatu I'm a bit more torn on, but there is something striking about it. It almost looks like a drawing that someone might, like a First Nation or maybe an ancient Japanese drawing of a creature, and it gives it a sort of spiritual sense to it, which is kind of cool if it's not overdone. So I think they can stay for now. Okay, Flaffy and Ampharos, they're both gone. They're just worse versions of Mareep. I want my electric sheep, and that's it. And they don't even look like they're related. Maybe they're not even related, but yeah, they can both go. Blossom is a very fun addition to the Gloom line to not have a horrible corpse flower at the end. Azumarill is like an ugly rabbit version of Meryl, so it can go. Sudowoodo, it looks like a tree, but it's not. That's fun. I like that. A frog that is almost, and again, it's very similar. Like, is it part of the Poliwhirl line? Because, or are they just obsessed with? It is. Okay, so it is an alternative to Poliwrath. So they tried to fix the whole Poliwrath mistake, I guess. Great idea. I don't know if it'll save them, because I think I already butchered them. Yeah, you know what? Poliwagon to Politoed. That's the... I didn't actually know Politoed existed. I guess I've seen it before, but I never really thought about it, that it was to fix this laziness here. And, it was probably a time crunch thing, right? They were like, okay, we want 150, but... Okay, let's just duplicate the dog, duplicate the monkey, and duplicate this thing 3 times, and then call it a day. And Clefairy just, like... A lot of these Pokemon, I think, were done fairly quickly as just a quick balancing act. I mean, Diglett and Dugtrio is the laziest of them all, but I really like how it turned out. Just a quick balancing change, but yeah, that's probably their origins. It doesn't mean they have to... This doesn't mean it's necessarily a bad thing, but that's probably what happened. So yeah, Politoed, you have saved the Poliwhirl line somewhat. Hoppip, Skiploom, Jumpluff, I love them. They're all different stages of a flower, and that's... I like it a lot. Apom, Monkey with a Hand. Surprisingly, I like this. It's... I don't know. It's kind of what Pokemon's about. It's a creature, but it's got a thing to it. In this case, it's a giant hand. That's kind of fun. Okay, Sunkern and Sunflora, they are basically another Gyarados and Magikarp situation, which I think is cool. Sunflower is a bit weaker than Gyarados, and Sunkern's a bit stronger than Magikarp, but same idea. Now Sunflora, I don't know, it is just a dude, but it's enough of a sunflower that it can stay for now, and I do like the evolutionary chain, so you know it's allowed to live for now, sadly. Like, how hard would it be just to be a little sprout bulb though, balancing, right? Like, I don't know what Pokemon's obsession with feet is, because it's not like they even animate the Pokemon walking around everywhere. Because maybe that would be easier then, but... Oh, maybe for the anime, I don't know. But it could just be a little bulb that shuffles along. Like Doug Trio, they never explain, and that thing's the weirdest thing ever. Okay, Yanma, I think one of the coolest Pokemon. I've never actually had one in a Pokemon game, but it's like I don't know, it's just a dragonfly, but it's a really cool looking dragonfly. I like it. Wooper and Quagsire. Quagsire might be my favorite Pokemon. And these are axolotl Pokemon. Well, he's an axolotl, he's a salamander. But, so maybe possibly the second salamander Pokemon, I guess. But yeah, I really like Quagsire, and I like that you have to work for him a little bit with Wooper. And a lot of people like Wooper more, but I'm a Quagsire fan. The thing that made me a fan of him was beating a level, I don't remember, it's like a level 50 or something, Volteon with my level like 20 Quagsire, and he earned his place in my heart for that, because he's in the well, I guess the second generation and third generation. I was playing Silver, so I guess that'd be third generation. I'm not sure, but there wasn't that many water types that could stand against electric types, so it's very cool. Espeon, like I said, the evolutions are staying. Give him a cool pair of goggles there. Murkrow is, I don't know, it looks too much like a guy in a hat. Like it's too much of a human aesthetic, I think. It's like a gang member, but not in an interesting way. I don't know. A dark flying sort of murder crow is a neat idea, but I don't like how they did it. I think in much later generation they have that Corviknight or whatever it's called. I think that's a much better attempt at doing something like that. Slowking can stay for now, although I am unsure how I feel about the guy. But he can stay. Mischievous, I don't know why it has a necklace, but it's a ghost. It's fine. Unknown, cool. I like the alphabet Pokemon. It's neat. Wobbuffet. I'm gonna have to move faster, I think. Wobbuffet. We've got I don't know what this thing is. Thin Ice. He's a Weeble Wobble, I guess. We've got Girafarig, which is just Giraffe is cool. Pineco, the Fortress. They're fine. Dunsparce. I don't know what Dunsparce is. Apparently it's normal. I always thought it was a bug or a ground or a rock. I don't know. I don't know what Dunsparce is. It is based on a cryptid, child of Hammer, a snake-like being. The name Tsuchinoko is what it's called. They're meant to be quite small. They have the appearance of a snake, but with a central girth that is much wider than its head or tail, and have fangs and venom. So it's a fat snake that can jump, and it can double jump. Japanese folklore has a double jumping snake? Okay, Dunsparce, you've earned your spot for that. Giggler, I don't know. Like we have a Crobat, don't we? Do we need a Giggler? I don't think we need a Giggler. Maybe he could replace a Golbat, but yeah. Steelix, it's a very neat upgrade to Onix. You think you couldn't improve upon Onix, but Steelix did a pretty good job. I actually still prefer Onix's design, but I like Steelix's typing, and I like the idea. Snubbull, definitely going to go. I like the idea of a fairy pitbull, but yeah, walking around like that, no way. Quillfish, sure. Fish. Scizor. I don't actually know what Scizor is in relation to Scyther. Is he is he the same as Steelix, basically? Oh, there's another Cleavor. Huh, that's new. Yeah, it's an evolution. Okay, sure. He's fine. Shuckle, fun creature. Heracross, amazing. Like I said before, it's that whole fighting bug Pokemon thing. I should have gotten the other one, but I guess it's the standing on the back legs. Yeah, okay. You know what? They're standing on their back legs, so they're on thin. Well, no, some Pokemon will be standing on their back legs. That's just the way of the world. Sneasel. No. That's from a different series, clearly. A teddy bear, that's kind of fun. I like the idea, and then it turns into a big scary thing. That's fun. Slugma, I love. Not enough snails. Well, actually, just the right amount of snails. You don't need too many snails. It's nice to have snails. These two, great. See, it's a pig, but it's not quite a pig. It's all Pokemon ever needs to be. Same with Corsola. That's great. Remoraid, I really like what they do with it. Remoraid, where it can hook up with the other Pokemon, so that's cool. Octillery, again, an octopus, that's fun. Delibird, I'm going to give you a Thin Ice because, you know, I don't like that you're just Santa Claus, but on the other hand, you're basically a better Farfetch'd in many ways, so you can stay. Flying Mantis, or just Manta Ray, right? Cool. Skarmory, Skarmory almost feels like it should be part of the Fearow line. I think that would be really fitting. And I don't know where in it would go. Maybe it goes Fearow to Skarmory, or maybe all three of them. But I think if you do that, suddenly I'm all for keeping Fearow around still more. It feels kind of weird on its own. It's a scary armory, I guess. So it does fit the whole Fearow idea. I don't know why it isn't with them, actually. That makes me feel better about these three. I might still get rid of all of them because I think there's better Steel flying, but at least this gives me a reason to keep them around. Houndour and Houndoom, I love them. They're hellhounds. What more could you ask for? Then we have Kingdra, which kind of fixes the whole Seadra line, which I think is probably what they were doing. They're like, yeah, this is... See, my opinion on Pokemon, I've always liked Pokemon, but it's soured over the years. Right? And I think a lot of people feel this way, where they think, oh, Pokemon, what are these stupid new Pokemon? They're so hideous. But I think Pokemon also deserves a lot of credit for the sheer amount of Pokemon there are, and having some really good ideas to fix past mistakes, and also to reintegrate stuff and make it work. As well as just the sheer variety of Pokemon is actually impressive. You know, credit where credit's due. It was a good idea. Look at that. Horsey into Kingdra, and suddenly everyone's happy. And it is kind of fun to have the 3 evolutions to get up to it, but because it does feel like a bit of a jump, but whatever. It can't have 3 almost identical looking seahorses. Okay. Maybe both of these guys will go in the end, but at least there's that. Okay. Panphi and Dauphin, love them. Elephants, what more can you ask for? Porygon 2, okay. So yeah, this is where I get into this, my sort of, my kind of facetious statement about, oh, there shouldn't be any more. I don't know why there's multiple Porygon. There's probably a story reason, but I think, and it's meant to show the updated graphics, I guess, of the Porygon line. I don't know, there's only 200 Pokemon and 3 of them are going to be Porygons. That doesn't, if you have all the room like they do, then that's a different story, but yeah. In my 200 Pokemon world, no Porygon. Stantler, based on Japanese deer, I believe, and it's cool. It's got big eyes. I like it. Smeargle, Thin Ice. Thin Ice for sure. I think it has a really cool ability. That's the only reason it's not a straight up, you're out of here. Are we still in the 2nd generation right now, or is this the 3rd generation? This is 2nd generation. Yeah, so 2nd generation had a lot of ideas to integrate with the 1st and fix it in a lot of ways. Yeah, Thin Ice. Okay, Tyrogue, definitely not. Hitmontop, definitely not. These evolve into Hitmonlee, Hitmontop, and Hitmonchan. It's a cool idea, but I don't like any of the Pokemon involved in that chain. These baby Pokemon, I got rid of their adult forms. Smoochum's kind of cute. Maybe Smoochum can stay. Smoochum can be like the little penguin thing. But the other, Magby is hideous. I hate Magby. And the anime episode of Electkid, I like the plugs on his head. That's kind of fun, but he's like Scrappy-Doo. He's the Scrappy-Doo of Pokemon. Miltank, most terrifying Pokemon in existence. It should stay. Blissey, like I said, get rid of. Okay, and I'm a sucker for legendary groups. It's a shame they use almost the exact same thing every time, lightning, fire, water, but, you know, at least these ones are cool. And then this is like a weird bug that turns into a giant creature, which I think is really cool. Lugia, Pokemon 2001, or Pokemon 2000. It's a great movie. Lugia's voice actor had an amazing voice. Lugia's song is great. Gotta keep them. Was there a movie about each of these 3 Pokemon? It's kind of crazy. They really went hard with Gen 2. They used to put so much... So it was like, Gen 1 lasted 5 years, and then Gen 2 a few, and then it's like, okay, now make a Pokemon every year. Go, go, go. They just turned into this factory that started churning them out. I guess it makes so much money. I think Gen 2, they had a lot of... It's actually not a generation I've really played, but there's obviously a lot of care in here, just looking at the Pokemon they added. They were thinking this through. There's not going to be room for Smoochum. I'm just thinking about it now. If I'm trying to eliminate Pokemon, there's not going to be room for this thing. Cute though it may be. Trico, Grovyle, Sceptile. You know, it's a gecko. It's I don't know what happened with Sceptile, but Grovyle and Trico are kind of cool. I hate it. Well, okay, hate's a strong word, but standing on the hind legs thing, again, bothers me a little bit. Bothers me a lot. You know what? They're gone. There's enough grass starters for a lifetime. And the chickens can go as well, except for the cute little chick. Because at least these two look like chickens, but this one, I don't know, it's like a horrible fast food restaurant logo. Now, the actually good ones of the generation, Mudkip through Swampert, well, Marshtomp, debatable, but the other two are great. They've got no complaints from me. Puccinia, Mightyana, more dogs. There's so many dog Pokemon. These are hyenas, of course, but I'm sure they have some sort of hyena-like ability, laugh or something. These, Zigzagoon, and I've never really understood, like, I don't... This is actually the best looking picture of Zigzagoon I've ever seen. Normally it's pretty ugly. Leonoon can kind of look cool, and then there's that big red one, which I don't like, which I think is a later generation adds. Now this is really getting out of hand here, so I'll tell you what, Wurmple is very worm-like, which I do like, but how many bug and then, you know, second generation didn't do this, they didn't take the the easy route. So it looks like Wurmple can already become these two Pokemon. We already have Venomoth, which I think is better, so those two can go. And then Beautifly is just like a worse Butterfree, really. So Wurmple's, well, Silcoon's kind of cool looking, but maybe we hold on to these two for a Pokemon that could better use their models. Like maybe Silcoon we give to Venonat, and Wurmple we give to someone else as well. We'll see what we do. Maybe Wurmple can evolve into a Caterpie or a Weedle. Make them a 4 generation line of Pokemon. Okay, here's our first Kappa Pokemon. The Mexican Maraca creatures. And I think they are all great. Yeah, Lotad, Lombre, and Ludicolo. I don't really like Lombre as much. Again, the middle ones, they tend to fall short. Like Nuzleaf. Nuzleaf is going to go. But Seedot's great here. Shiftry, I don't know. Is it a tree even? Like, it doesn't really look that tree-like. You're on thin ice. Seedot's great, though. Seedot I like. Taillow and Swellow, they're kind of like better Pidgeotto. Like, I like their designs better in some ways, but Pidgeotto, I don't know, it's so classic, it's hard to get rid of. Wingull, I think, is amazing. I don't know why, but Wingull fits Pokemon so well. Pelipper, great to have an evolution for this, I don't know, somewhat iconic Pokemon. I guess it's because in Gen 3, like, you're playing, well, Emerald was the one I played, but they're just everywhere. You just can't get away from them, and it fits. Ralts, Gardevoir, they're just Pokemon again, but they are kind of iconic. I don't really like any of their designs that much, but it would feel weird to only keep Gardevoir, because it feels like there should be the progression up to her, but I don't know what to do about this one. I'll say these two are on thin ice, and then Gardevoir is sort of on thin ice, but not quite. Surskit is great. Surskit, it's like a little water dancer, which, why would you add a water dancer? That's a great idea. Like, it's like adding a sponge or something. It's not an often seen thing. That was 283, yeah, okay, good. Feels like it needs an evolution, though. Oh, I guess it turns into Masquerain, probably. Shroomish Breloom. I don't understand what happened here. Shroomish is kind of fun looking. That's not a mushroom, that's a dinosaur. But it's not an interesting dinosaur. I think there's better mushroom Pokemon, even. But, I don't know, Shroomis's face is kind of getting me here, so... Slakin, kind of classic. I don't know what happened in the middle one, like, you know, he's an angsty teenager, I guess, and he started acting out. They're very similar to Primate in that they're almost great, but I don't know. These two are on thin ice. Slackin's kind of fun. Although there is already a Snorlax, isn't there? Maybe, you know, given that I need to get through 1,000 Pokemon, maybe they go. Maybe they go. Just so, you know, we keep Snorlax, we get rid of 3. That's a great deal. Snorlax is a much more efficient version. Nincada, Ninjask, and Shed Ninja are, I don't know. I don't know what happened, but Pokemon had a great day, and they created 3 really good-looking Pokemon, and all have really interesting abilities, and it's really cool how Nincada evolves into 2 Pokemon at once. I think that's really cool. Same can be said to a lesser extent about Whismar, Loudred, and Exploud. I really like them. I don't know. They made a boombox-type Pokemon just work. Now this, I think, is how you do a fighting Pokemon. It's like it's clearly not a human, but it's clearly also a fighting dude with his fighting gi, and so I think this is a much better example of how to do a fighting Pokemon. But, you know, you got to appreciate still the chiseled muscles of someone like Machamp, so... But compared to, like, a Hitmonchan, Lee or whatever, I think Makuhita and Marihama are much better. Azurill, I think, is much better than the things it evolves into, so it's great, it can stay. Nosepass is very fun. It's kind of like an Easter Island head. Skitty and Delcatty, they're kind of like a better mouth and Persian, really. So quite happy with both of them. Sableye, one of the hardest Pokemon to hurt in the game. Dark Ghost type is still... They added Steel to nerf them, but they're still incredibly hard to do anything about. I think it's really neat. Malyfine, Aron, Laren, Aggron. Now this looks like it's rocked back on its hind legs. It's not like Rhydon where it started... Well, I guess Rhydon is kind of rearing up, but Rhydon looks more like it's walking around. This one looks like more it's reared up on its hind legs. So I think that's much better. That said, feels like Rhydon could just be part of this mix. Like you get rid of Larion and put Rhydon right there, boom, and then you're onto something. But yeah, they can stay for now. Medite, Medicham, again, actually a better way to do a fighting type Pokemon. It's not quite a human, but it's clearly got humanoid fighting stances. Electrike and Mantrek are... I don't actually know what they're meant to be. Just like a generic animal. They're very Pokemon-y. They look like they're a Pokemon animal. But, yep, so Pulse and Minim, I think they're very fun. This was before the Pikachu market got completely oversaturated. Like, Pichu is already adding to it, but that's kind of fun. Volbeat and Illumines, I don't know. I think the idea of having this pair of Pokemon that seem related but aren't quite is neat, but I don't know what they're doing. Rosalia, on the other hand, I think is it's a very pretty contrast of colors, and it's a stalk of flowers. It's a bouquet basically in a Pokemon. I think that's neat. And that is where I'm going to end this session, I guess. And I've got so that was 10 layers. There are 33, and this is the first pass. I guess it's going to take a while. Like, it makes sense with 1,025 Pokemon. Maybe I'll have to just start picking up speed a little bit. But yeah, this is my microphone test and my voice test. And thanks for bearing with me, and take care.